What's going on, everybody? It's your man, DJ Caveman. We back for another episode of The Porch, Corona Get-In edition. Through the beauty of technology, we are here. I'm in the Daddy Deer Studios today because we're going to also be doing an episode of the Saturday Conversation right after this. But right now, we're remote on the porch with the world famous Tom DeNucci. Today we're talking, since we're in an area where everybody's kind of shut down, and today we're going to talk about what happens on movie sets when things just don't go the right way, and you have some epic fails and you have some snafus. And let's bring in Tom DeNucci live via the Cave World Entertainment Skype line. What's going on,
What's
Tommy?
up, Daryl? Hey, man, we're hanging in there. We're doing the best we can. We're happy to try to keep this show rolling through these unforeseen circumstances. Nice to see you. This is the first time we're doing the show not actually both on the porch, so I got a little separation anxiety. My pal Daryl's far away, but like you said, the glory of technology, we'll still be able to do the show.
We're social distancing.
I thought it was... Yeah, we're social distancing, but we're staying social. I thought it was a good idea today to kind of talk about, normally the format of the show is we talk about a specific movie that I worked on, and we kind of dive into it. But since this whole thing has us upside down, like everything else in America and really around the world, I had a film called Ask Athena that was about to go May 11th. We had our start date ready to go. We were prepping. We had some really cool actors signed. And it got pushed. Of course, we're still fortunate that we have a movie. We're happy to, know that that's going to be on the horizon. We're going to shoot in September. But it just goes to show you that the movie business, like a lot of businesses, is just so unpredictable. Gave me the idea, you know what? Let's do a whole episode on things blunders and disasters and production fails that occurred that really were beyond our control. Sometimes the movie gods kind of step in and unforeseen circumstances take place, and you got to kind of roll with the punches. And part of being a good filmmaker is adapting to kind of whatever gets thrown your way. So we got a little list here of about, a dozen or so classic blunders that happened to me. This is my personal experience. I'm sure other people have similar production stories, and these are mine. So we're going to dive into those. But what's been put on the shelf for you, Daryl? I know we're all making a lot of sacrifices. For me, it's this movie. What are you missing out on lately?
Everything, actually. I mean, I work in the entertainment industry, so with my club being closed, everything's pretty much shut down. Yeah. So, like, all my money, everything that I do for a living is people are canceling events everywhere. So even like I had a few parties lined up, those had to get canceled. My
legally.
Yeah.
It's like, you guys can't even legally be in this room.
Right.
More than five of us. Like, I don't know. So it's a little difficult. I've been out there trying to do like the Uber and the DoorDash and stuff, like just to stay busy. Because during the day, my lady is a teacher, so she's remote teaching. We have 2 kids in the house that are remote learning, and it's just me just kind of sitting there like, ugh. So, trying to make something happen. Well, hey, man.
I lost my nap time.
Yeah, that sucks, man, because we've had some pretty nice cloudy, nappy days.
Right.
It's been pretty rainy. But today's a nice nap day. I'm going to probably have one scheduled later. Well, on that note, with the cloudy day, with the raininess, the darkness, let's get right into some dark productions, disasters, and blunders. Are
they ranked? Are they ranked from largest to...
Kind of. When I made this list, I was kind of thinking about things a little bit of a free stream of consciousness. So things just naturally rank themselves. So the first one is just my movie got pushed. That's a bummer. We just talked about that. It's not so bad. I'm going to make the most of my time. I'm going to spend a lot of time prepping this. I was able to tweak the script and, just really tighten things up. So that's what I learned from the first one. But, we're going to go, let's see. I got my list here. Let's talk about Nick falls from the roof and we didn't shoot it right. Okay, that's kind of the chapter heading. So there's an actor named Nick Principe who we've talked about him a lot on the show. Great friend of mine, trusty dude. I think out of all the actors that I've worked with, He's probably the only one that's been in every single one of my movies. He's also a stunt performer. And we did this stunt where he was supposed to jump off of my roof. And we were shooting a movie at my parents' house. And basically, we had built a tower of cardboard boxes, you know, the kind of boxes that you just get at a moving company, standard box size. We had some production assistants make these boxes up all day long. And we probably had, I mean, it looked like a small tower of boxes that was probably 1 story high. And the goal was Nick was going to do a free fall backwards off of the porch and land on the boxes. And it was one of those things where we had multiple cameras. You know, listen, this is nothing new for you film buffs out there. Anytime you do a big stunt, you're going to want to have more than one angle. You're going to have more than 2 angles. In fact, every possible angle you can get, I don't care if it's a cell phone, have it rolling on that thing because you never know. That's what I learned from this, because we had 3 angles, all kind of positioned around. I checked the frames. Nick checked the frames. We all kind of thought that it was good to go. And then something got tweaked in the communication between when Nick actually went up to get into his stunt position, which was on top of basically a deck that was, you know, probably 20 feet high. You know, it's kind of, you know, I mean, yeah, he could have died. if you fell wrong, he definitely could have died. You know, he could have landed really funny. But the idea was he was going to fall backwards onto all these boxes, and that was going to break his fall. Sounds like something out of the Looney Tunes cartoon, you know, like that Woody, what was it, the Roadrunner and the Coyote would do, but it actually ended up working. So he goes to do the stunt. He kind of skims the top box and rides them down, like, like, and you see all these levels of boxes kind of fold. Boom, hits the ground. Everybody runs over to him. We check on him. He kind of gives us a thumbs up. The wind's taken out of his lungs. Can't really say anything right away, but he's like, I'm good.
Right,
Takes a couple deep breaths. Yeah, he's good. About 30 seconds later, he's Evel Knievel. He's made it. And then we go to check the angle. And unfortunately, again, something broke down in the communication. The frame changed. Frankly, to this day, I don't know what the hell happened, because we looked at the frames. They were approved. They looked good to go. I'm not blaming anyone, but something got moved, something got nudged in all the excitement, and we just didn't get the right angle. And yeah, if you look at the movie, it looks okay, but we never got the most dramatic, like, we're looking down, we're down here looking dramatically up, and it looks like Nick is falling from a significant height.
Right.
The way we got it shot, it looks like Nick could have literally done that off of the 2 steps here to the porch. And we could have just put the camera low, and he could have fallen from 2 steps. So we just didn't shoot it right. We messed up. So that was a blunder. And I guess what we learned from that is just, you know, when you set those frames, that final frame, like, you just got to make sure, like, 50 times that they're in position. Nothing changed. Nobody nudged it. An elbow didn't hit the camera, and all the excitement. Nobody got their own bright idea and deviated from the plan. You just got to really double check everything. So that was a pretty swift kick in the shorts. But at the end of the day, I guess the important thing is that Nick was safe from the stunt.
Right. I know Nick personally. He's a good dude, so it would have sucked if he would have broke his back or something.
Yeah, it would have. It really would have. So shout out to Nick for hanging in there and making it. We're jumping around now. This next one's kind of a bit of a funny one. You know, we were shooting the movie Vault, and our production designer Gabe was in there weeks in advance, and he's doing a ton of work on this place to kind of get it in shape to be shot. You know, the production designer, they're kind of the first boots on the ground. You know, they're usually there way in advance before you turn the cameras on, because they're literally designing the set. They're helping build the set. They're creating the look. So when we shot Vault, we had this operational vault, which was in 1940s, 50s era bank vault. It was abandoned at the time, but everything still worked. And it was one of those things where when we were working on some of the sets deep within the vault, because this vault was huge. I mean, we're talking, I think they had told us that at one time this vault had something crazy like, you know, hundreds of millions of dollars in it. It had so much, this vault had so much money in it that when the bank closed, they eventually found over $1 million in unrecovered money like just money that nobody came to claim. 5,000 deposit box, a few hundred in that account. There was so much money in this vault. That's how big it was. It was so big that we said to ourselves, like, hey, you know what? Part of like the look of this vault, it almost looked like a prison. So we said, well, why don't we take the back of this vault and actually use that for some of our prison sets that we know that we got to shoot? Because obviously, little filmmaking tip, anytime you can shoot two locations, anytime you can shoot one location for 2 or 3.
Oh, that's a win.
That's a big win, because now we don't have to move, we don't have to travel. We're all right here. So we saw this vault and we were like, God damn, we can turn that into a prison. So Gabe is deep in the vault doing work, building this thing, designing it. And there was some PA went to go do a coffee run. And every time you went in, you had to get the security guard. There was a security guard for the building, and he would come and he would kind of let you in and out of the vault. Well, for whatever reason, the security guard wasn't there, and the young PA, forgive me, probably, just a dopey kid, just didn't know what the hell was going on, wasn't paying attention, whatever it was. The door shut behind him, and he left to go do his run or whatever. And Gabe was like stuck. He was locked in the vault, and he was stuck in there for a while. And nobody could hear him. He tried yelling for the guard. And it was one of those things where, like, thank God it wasn't like, all right, I'll see you on Monday, Gabe. Bye. And, like, the guy left.
Right.
Thank God he went on a run, because here's the other part about it. Guess what? There's no fucking cell service down there.
Right, I was going to say, there's no phones, nothing.
No, you can't place a call. So Gabe would have been stranded in that vault. Like, if this happened, thank God it happened with the kid going out on a run and he was coming back within an hour or so. Had this happened on the weekend, Gabe would have had to sleep in the vault, God knows what, for, a couple days or a day. So it could have been a big fucking disaster. Thankfully, the timing was good on that one, and the kid just came back an hour later and found the security guard and said, oh, my God, we locked my guy in there. And we got him out. But I guess what we learned on that one is anytime you have a massive fucking vault, make sure you don't lock your crew people inside of it.
Oh, yeah.
Pretty simple.
That could have been ugly.
It could have been really, really bad. Would have utilized the safety deposit boxes for something entirely different.
For sure.
As we digress here. All right, so another one was, so sometimes, guys, you're just going to have technical difficulties where your equipment just fails. Machinery, computers, hard drives, bullshit. Totally out of your control. And we had an instance like this on the movie Slimebuck. We're doing the movie Slimebuck, which was a tribute film for our friend Kyle Cirilli, who's no longer with us, rest in peace. And we had this awesome scene set up. It was my favorite scene in the whole movie. It was a Halloween kind of movie. This was supposed to be like, if you're a kid in my age range-ish, you might know R.L. Stine, like Goosebumps, those books that came out in the 90s, and they were kind of horror movies for kids, or horror books for kids. They were scary books, but they weren't too heavy-duty, because, again, they were geared towards children. So this was kind of like, this movie was a love letter to that genre. It was creepy, it was spooky, but it wasn't going to terrify anyone. It was for kids.
Right, it's a kid's movie, so
yeah, exactly. It's just, for the little guys. So we had this whimsical scene set up where we're showing this eerie night near Halloween, the wind's blowing. We actually had production hands standing by right outside a frame with a giant fan, putting leaves in front of the fan so that they strategically blow into the scene. And we're doing this dramatic push in, and it looks terrific. And guess what? We go to edit the movie, a week later, and we're looking at the thing, and I'm like, hey, where's that awesome establishing shot that's out of a Goosebumps book? Like, what happened to that? And I'll never forget, Sam Lauritsen looked at me. Sam's still, to this day, a good friend of mine, and he shot just about every movie I made, and edited a lot of them too. And he just looks at me, kind of almost afraid to tell me, and he's just like, yeah, we lost that. And I'm like, what? And he, again, it's not a human error. This is nothing that, anyone did.
It just kind of happens, right?
Yeah, it's just the hard drive just got damaged. I don't know if somebody dropped it. I don't know if somebody, whatever, something happened to the hard drive, and our footage was destroyed. And just like that, we go from having this magical scene to it's just gone. Like, it just didn't happen.
The ghost in the machine got you.
Yeah, the ghost in the machine just ate us up. And it's hard because you say, like, well, what do you do to stop that from happening? I mean, it's hard, man. I mean, what are you going to do? Reshoot everything on a second hard drive just in case? You could never do that. You know, you really can't. It's kind of just like, you know, you're kind of just praying that kind of shit doesn't happen, and you got to move forward. And I guess, you know, maybe, I guess the lesson could have been, and on bigger films we do this, but this was a small film, so it's really hard when you don't have the bodies to do all this stuff. But I guess the lesson is, you know, that night, check all the footage, make sure it's backed up, because it would have been easier for us to be like, shit, that sucks, we lost that scene. But hey, while we're, you know, lighting scene 21, we could be outside and reshooting that tonight. You know, you'd know about it soon enough to where you'd have an opportunity to maybe reshoot it. So that kind of segues into my next production failure, which, Daryl, I don't think you know about this one. We didn't talk about this one on the Vault show. With,
a new one.
You go into the archives, and you can listen to our Vault episode. That was episode 11. Actually, no, that was episode 10.
Episode 10.
Yeah, episode 10 was Vault. But we actually didn't talk about this tidbit, and it was a big mistake that I made. Okay, so real quick backstory, Bonded Vault. It was a robbery of a vault with a bunch of safety deposit boxes, and these guys went in there, and they busted them open with heavy machinery and screwdrivers and crowbars and drills, everything. They just, like animals, busted these things open, took all the cash and coin and jewelry out, and they got out of there. So we're shooting our scene. It's the first week, I believe, of the movie, you know, probably day 4 or 5. And we shoot this whole scene for this long day, for this heist, and Theo Rossi's. It's the last moment. You know, it's kind of funny. Obviously, everybody knows you shoot movies out of order. So here we are. It's only day 3 or 4. We're shooting the end of the, you know, one of the end scenes in the movie. Theo Rossi's running out of the bank. They just robbed it. We shoot it. And then it didn't take me long to realize this. We wrapped. It was a long day. We just beat going into overtime, which would have cost a small fortune if we did. So it felt like a win. And then I'm just thinking about it. I didn't even have to see the footage. I looked at the wall, and I saw that all the safety deposit boxes were shut on the wall that Theo just ran out of. The bank that allegedly fucking ransacked. And all the fucking doors are shut. What did they do? Did they put their fucking crowbars down and carefully, neatly shut every fucking door? No, they didn't do that. So I was so fucking pissed. I'm thinking of all these different ways. I'm saying to myself, well, what if we just shoot a plate of just the doors open, and then I can, you know, with visual effects, put them in. But you know what, man? Like, that shit starts costing money, it gets expensive, and it might just not look right. So I'm devastated, man. You know, like when you make a movie like Vault was my passion project. You know, you live and die by that movie. And I felt like I let it down.
You want everything to be right.
Yeah, you want everything to be right. I let it down. I didn't even need to see the footage. I knew it was a total fuck up. And credit to Trevor, my first AD, Trevor Tavares, who was kind of like, you know, one of the heartbeats of that production in terms of like keeping us on time and keeping me sane. Quick backstory on Trevor. I mean, he's been in the AD department here are the last few directors that he worked with: Steven Spielberg, Paul Thomas Anderson,
wow.
About Spike Lee. I mean, this guy's been an AD for a who's who of filmmakers. It's insane, the guys that he's been right next to. Like, he's literally driven Steven Spielberg on a golf cart to the next fucking scene. Like, that's how knowledgeable this kid is, Trevor. I say kid, he's a couple years older than me. But Trevor just kind of like said, hey, all right, let's calm down. Let's figure this out. We're going to be back down there, meaning back in the vault, the second to last day of the shoot. We're going to get it that day. So we're already planning 2.5, 3 weeks in advance. Okay, don't worry. We're going to cover our ass, and we're going to get that shot the right way. because we have all the elements. Theo was going to be down there anyway. We were going to be in the vault room anyway. We could just bang that out. As far as physical time to shoot that, it would really only take 15 minutes once the cameras are up. It's just a matter of when are we actually going to be down there? People don't understand that. Like, I'm not just going down there with a fucking handheld Sony Handycam. We have massive equipment, 100 people. So it's like, for us to even be like, it sounds crazy. Like, what do you mean, when are you going to be down there again? Like, no, if we're not going to be down there again to shoot another significant chunk of stuff, for lack of a better word, I can't justify to my producers the expense of bringing 100 people down there and all the king's horses and all the king's men to shoot this one little bit. They're going to be like, no, you that's on you, man. You fucked that up. You can't allow that. So fortunately, we got a little lucky with the schedule, and Trevor was quick enough to recognize that right away. Like, okay, no big deal. We're going to build that little 1/8 of a page that you got to reshoot into that moment, into that part of the day, towards the end of the show. So, quick thinking by the AD department to bail us out of a jam on that one. And if you watch the movie now, in one of those last scenes in Vault, Theo has this terrific moment where he kind of turns around and he looks at the empty vault and sees all the dismay that they just caused, and he realizes, like, A, holy shit, we actually pulled this off, and B, someone might actually try to kill us now that we did this. So it's a great moment in the movie. I'm glad it wasn't fucked up with some kind of dumb production error, because we had a long day and we were tired. It's just one little thing you miss. You know, we're humans. We make mistakes. And you're not always, you can't always be 100%. You're always going to mess something up. And it's about being able to recognize the fuck up right away and try and fix it. So, okay, let's see what else happened.
Always good to have a strong AD.
Yeah, man, the AD department, I can't say enough about that. That's probably, there are a lot of people on the movie set that average Joe and Jane, when they're sitting at home watching movies, will never understand or recognize, and it's a shame because they're so important to the movie. But, ADs should be as, famous as a director, as the directors that you see, because they're the heart and soul. They build the movie. They make sure that everything is in place so that when it's your turn to come on set and actually direct the movie, all the elements that you need are right there for you. So I can't say enough good things about a strong first AD and AD department altogether. All right, so let's, again, we're skipping time. We're moving all around. This next one's called Cats on the Loose. This next chapter. And you can imagine it's got an animal involved. So they always say shooting with, two most difficult things to shoot with are kids and animals. Well, we just made a movie called Agent Toby Barks, which featured both of them, both kids and animals. Let me tell you something, it's really not that bad. To me, I think kids are a little bit easier to work with than adults sometimes, because they're still in the mode where, A, they're not jaded by the business, and they're still excited, and they love it, and they want to play and try different things, and,
Right, they're excited. They're also trying to impress.
Yeah, and just also it's like learning that you have this new ability and getting to unlock it. So they're still excited about everything. Whereas, obviously the actor who's been doing this for 20 years, they're like, all right, where do I stand? What do you want me to say? They're not all like that, but it's like any other business. You do it enough and it becomes very much standard commonplace for you. Kids are still very excited. And as for the animals, what I've learned is, not to take anything away from our furry friends, it's really all about the trainer, right? It's about having the right trainer. The animal trainer is everything. And we had a film called Agent Toby Barks, and our animal trainers were terrific. Christine and Chrissy Joy, our two trainers, were phenomenal. And I couldn't say enough great things about them. So this isn't their fault, okay? What I'm about to say, I don't want this to sound like I'm knocking them, because I can't say enough about them. In fact, I'm going to pull up their information so that I can give them a plug, and we can get their actual name for their company. In case anyone out there is listening that's looking for an animal for their movie, we'll be working on that while I tell the story. But basically, so this isn't their fault, as a disclaimer. But we had to have a cat in a scene where this evil scientist, played by, shout out to Fred Sullivan, is holding this cat, and he's invented this device that makes animals talk. The ability to harness their meows or their barks or whatever noise an animal makes. Well, this device he's invented is trying to channel that noise and make it into a language. So he tries this device on a cat, and the cat is cute. You know, the cat basically says, like, oh, I think you have a fat head, and, you know, somebody feed me lunch. The cat's a jerk, all right? The
Nice.
cat is he's not a very friendly cat. So basically what happened was, and I don't mean to be rude as I'm typing here, just trying to find the name of this company. Basically, the cat is having this, you know, kind of a nice scene with Fred. Everything's going well. He's friendly. Nice, pretty gray cat. Big, fluffy thing. And I don't know what happened, man. Cats are temperamental, but that cat just changed like that. Went like around, like flipped around, clawed the shit out of Fred's arms. You know, drew blood. He's bleeding now.
Wow.
Hits the ground, and then bolts. Like, leaves set. Like, leaves the building. He's running around outside. So now it's like, get Scruffles! Get him! You know, like, he can't, because it was traffic. He could run into the street. So now I've got, I don't know, 7 people dropped what they're doing on set, running after a fucking cat in the parking lot. Which, listen, yes, very important. We can't have a cat on the loose. But it's also important to know that if you're working on a movie, time is money. And, you know, we can't stop everything for like an hour to go get a cat. We just can't do it. I love cats. I'm the biggest cat guy in the world. But we can assign one person, maybe 2 people to cat duty. And the rest of the, as they say, show must go on. We you know, immediately literally everybody became a fucking cat hunter. And the whole crew suddenly is outside chasing this cat.
Yeah.
So luckily we caught that mangy thing. But yeah, I guess, you know, again, unpredictable animals, never know what you're going to encounter. Luckily Fred Sullivan's a cat person, and he didn't mind getting scratched up too bad. All right, so the name of that company is LTD Animals, and you can talk to Christine Pitcairn. I think I'm saying that right. Christine Pitcairn. I always just know her as Christine. I'm pretty horrible with last names. I tend to butcher last names. Great with first names. Almost never forget first names. Last names are not as good.
I'm terrible with names, period.
Yeah, you're like, hey, man, if I get that first name.
Yeah, I'm doing something good. I'm a face guy. I remember faces.
Yeah, and Chrissy Joy, who was our dog trainer, apparently it's just Chrissy Joy. I don't see a last name. Chrissy Joy, tell us your last name. Is Joy your last name? Is that a stage name? Okay, so let's move on. Okay, this story hurts. I'm going to be honest with you. This next one, it's probably going to be the most painful thing that you hear all day long. And I'm just going to give you the abridged version because it hurts to even tell. But this one goes back to my acting days, which I still, you know, I'm primarily a writer-director, but we've talked about, you know, we did episode 11 on The Office Mix-Up, which is a movie I was just in. I of course still have the acting bug, and I love it. But this story goes back to, I was probably only, 23, 24 years old, and acting was more of like the number one thing. Because no one's really letting a 23-year-old kid direct anything for the most part. So acting was the thing that I could really chew on the most. So I had auditioned for this movie called Tanner Hall, which was a really classy project coming to Rhode Island. It was classy because Diana von Furstenberg, I think I'm saying that right, famous fashion designer, her daughter was best friends with Ringo Starr, the drummer of the Beatles. Right. His daughter, they were best buddies that like went to Brown University together or something. And they had written this movie about an all-girls academy or something, a prep school, and the trials and tribulations of these young women at prep school. It was called Tanner Hall, and they shot it in Rhode Island. And I remember being told that like it was this who's of young up-and-coming female actresses. guess what? Brie Larson was one of those up-and-coming actresses. But she was, I don't want to say a nobody. That's a douche. I hate when people call people nobodies. But she wasn't famous at the time. Nobody knew who Brie Larson was. But she was already getting, like, known as on this pedigree of, like, she's going to be big. I audition. I do my thing. I get a call back. I audition again. Boom, I get a call on a Friday night. You get the part. I'm playing Brie Larson's boyfriend, okay,
Nice.
in the movie. I'm like, holy shit, this is really happening. He's got like a couple days on the movie. There's this scene in a Ferris wheel. Daryl, there's a fucking Ferris wheel in it, and with Brie Larson.
You know what happens on the Ferris wheels.
There's kissing. There's kissing. There's kissing in this scene, okay? So I'm like, I felt like $1 million, all right? I felt like the man. And then, like, it's kind of funny how timing works out because we were supposed to shoot like a week later, and you know, then the AD called me and he's like, "Oh, Tom, you know, actually," I was like, "Oh shit, are they canning me? What's going on?" No, everything's good. We're gonna shoot it next week. Oh, okay, all right. So I get the call next week. Now, in that week, I had developed the most nasty zit in American history, right on the corner of my mouth, right about where you'd go to kiss somebody.
Yikes!
So I remember going to set. And I had a wardrobe fitting a few days before, and I met Brie, and I remember having the wardrobe fitting, and I didn't have the zit. And I remember she was like, "Oh, hey, this is Tom, and he's gonna play your boyfriend." And I remember she was like, "Oh, hi, Tom," and like there was a good chemistry there. I was like, "Oh my god, this is great," you know, like this is a good vibe. This is gonna be the best thing I ever shoot, right? I could just tell that this scene was gonna crush. But there I am, showing up to set with the zit. And the smile on Brie's face that was there a few days prior when she met me had quickly drifted, and now her smile went from a smile to a confused look, and her eyes quickly drifted to my zit right away. Because she knows I got to kiss this guy in a scene, and what the fuck is that on his face that I have to put my lips near and then go shoot the rest of the movie? You know, she doesn't know it's a zit. She doesn't know if she could catch something from me, whatever the fuck. So I knew things were bad. The writing was on the wall when, like, a producer came up to me, like, an hour later and was like, "Tom, can I talk to you for a minute?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure." "Hey, what's this? What's this thing on your lip?" And I'm like, "Oh, it's just a zit. You know, I'm a kid. I'm 23. I get zits still, you know. We'll put some makeup on it. I'm sure it'll be fine." Okay. Went to makeup before lunch, and they put makeup on it. And then, you know, sometimes you sit in the makeup chair. You go get makeup done, and you sit for hours. You don't get used, you don't get called. So I'm sitting for an awful long time. Like, lunch has passed, the day's gone by, they still haven't used me. I know I got a shit ton of stuff to shoot. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Finally, I get one of the producers to kind of take me aside. "Okay, we're going to bring you down to set. We're really sorry, but basically the actor is uncomfortable with this thing on your lip, and we're going to recast that part, and you're going to play a townie." So the scene was like, you know, it's supposed to be me and all my buddies meet up with these girls, and then we go on this Ferris wheel. I break off and I do my thing. There was a townie who literally stands there with a beer by a keg and goes, "You girls want some beer?" So now I go from having multiple days with a budding star, a kissing scene. I'm going to be the featured guy. Now, "You girls want some beer?" That's my fucking severance package. And I was devastated, man. You know, I remember getting on the phone with my casting agent at the time and just saying, "What the fuck? How can they do this to me? You know, how can they take this part away? Like, I signed a contract. I'm trying to get, like, you know, Johnny Cochran on this shit." And he's like, "Listen, they reserve the right they can cast whoever they want, get rid of whoever they want, right up until the last minute, you know, and sorry, man." And she was really cool about it. She was the shoulder to cry on at the time. And my buddy Kevin, I remember we happened to be shooting near my friend Kevin DeCristofano, who's also been in a lot of my movies. He co-wrote Saving Christmas with me. He lived not too far from there, and I had to still stay there. That was the shitty part. I couldn't, like, go home because now I'm playing townie, and I wanted to make the whatever it was $800 for the day rate, you know, because it was a speaking role. So I'm, like, sitting there practically in tears in the parking lot of this fucking place, and my friend Kevin came by and just, like, said, "Hey, man, you know, what are you gonna do?" You know, sometimes it's like not even something that they say as a friend. You just need someone that you can just bitch to for an hour.
Right.
So I just did an hour of bitching and went back to set. Smoked a bunch of cigarettes. Kind of was just pissed off. Did the scene, and I remember too. And this is the biggest heartbreaker to me, at least from a production. The kid they picked had zero acting experience. He was an extra, but the production was in a jam. And I understand this now, years later, from a production standpoint. They couldn't, reshoot this with a new actor tomorrow. They probably couldn't afford that. And it was one of those. They have literally all these massive set pieces, carnival set pieces that they rented. So they cast this kid he was a tall, handsome kid who was an extra, but had zero acting experience. And God forgive me, this is no knock to him. He's not a pro actor. He was so fucking bad that they literally voiced over his shit and pretty much cut the scene out of the movie. I mean, the scene's hardly a scene in the film. I haven't even seen the full movie, but I've been told that from friends that, like, they actually had to, like, they ADR'd this guy's voice, meaning they dubbed his voice because it was that poor.
Oh, wow. Like the Liberty Mutual commercial?
Exactly, but Liberty Bibbity, but for real. So, that was tough, man. That one took a while to get over, and still to this day, I do wonder what would happen if I didn't have that zit. And
hey, who knows? You could be married to Brie Larson.
Or listen, that's the funny thing to say, but like honestly, it might have just been like a really cool part that could have potentially put me on the map at the time.
That too.
But hey, man, everything happens for a reason. You never heard of the movie Tanner Hall, have you?
No.
What's that go to show you? Probably wouldn't have done a whole lot of dick for me. Wouldn't have really done anything. That's at least what I say to sleep at night.
What you should do now is just write a movie, cast Brie Larson opposite you for a kissing scene.
Yeah, well, what I always say is maybe someday, Brie's obviously on another level. She's a massive megastar. So I always say, and just an all-around cool person. I've never really seen a bad thing about her in the press or anything. So if I'm ever fortunate enough to share a Tonight Show couch spot with her or something, it would be a very funny story to mention and be like, hey, we almost did a film together, but I gotta sit. I didn't get the memo on the Clorox pads the week before. All right, what else? There's only a few more of these disasters. Here's like a simple one that actually has a lesson. So we're shooting my very first movie. It's called Self-Storage. And hear how beautiful and quiet it is right now today, Daryl?
Yes.
There's no fucking leaf blowers. There's no fucking lawn mowing. There's no snow blowing. And there's certainly no motherfucking fire alarms going off.
No.
And this story takes place at a time when we're shooting a movie overnight. It's called Self-Storage. It's my first movie. We're shooting the whole thing in 15 days, which is very fast for a movie. And we got to move quick. We got to get everything going. I want to be on time. I'm trying to impress Chad. This is the first time I'm directing a movie. And wouldn't you know it, we go to shoot. We're about an hour into the day. And a massive fucking, this next to our self-storage facility where we were shooting, there was like a paper supply building or like some kind of warehouse type building. The fucking alarm starts wailing at, midnight. And it keeps going. And we're like, what? So, okay, what do you do? Now, normally you'd figure like the owner's going to show up or something and shut it down, or the police. I don't know. The police will come.
Somebody's going
to shut this fucking thing down. What's it going to be? Maybe 10 minutes, 15 minutes? Okay. So we're taking a break. We're setting something up and waiting for the alarm. 15 minutes goes by, 20 minutes goes by, it ain't shutting off. All right, somebody call the police. Let's call the police. So we call the local police. They say, hey, listen, we're aware of the alarm. We've contacted the owners. They appear to be out of town.
Oh, wow.
We were trying to figure this out. Bro, they couldn't get a hold of the owners were out of town, and they couldn't get a hold of the alarm company right away. That alarm went off for hours. I'm talking like, probably 2 or 3 hours, which when you're shooting a movie, your average day is about 12 hours. And there's, an hour of setup, an hour of breakdown, an hour of lunch. Really, you only have about 8, 9 hours to actually shoot the fucking movie. So when you lose like 2 or 3 hours to some bullshit alarm, that's a big fucking deal. That's like a major, major chunk of your day that just got bitten. So what we did was we kind of thought quick, and we shot anything that didn't require dialogue, anything that we could shoot MOS, basically meaning, anything that we knew we were going to lay a song over or sound effects or maybe even dub it later with some ADR. So we quickly decided after about a half an hour, 20 minutes, and after hearing from the police that, yeah, man, it could be a while. We were just like, all right, fuck it. Let's keep going. So we shot about 2 or 3 hours of that night with this piercing alarm just going off. And we were hearing that shit in our heads for probably 2 or 3 days. You could hear the alarm after, like that night, your head hits the pillow and you hear like, boo, boo. You're like, motherfucker. But hey, we adjusted fire and defeated the enemy. Okay, let's see what else we got. We talked a little bit about this, so I won't spend a ton of time on this, but this is just Dreamer Falls from the Sky. Tommy Dreamer, pro actor, pro wrestler, all around hell of a guy. He's been a guest on the show here. We were working with him on a movie called Almost Mercy, and Nick Principe and John Del Ponte had the dubious task of setting up a rig so that Tommy Dreamer's character was going to commit suicide in this movie, hangs himself. And it's written that he hangs himself in the garage. So we had a rig built where obviously we can't actually hang people. So there's a rig that goes around his waist, much like a standard harness that you'd wear if you're a window washer. And then that rig went up his back, and then that's what he was actually hanging from. And then there would be a phony noose that wasn't actually attached, lightly kind of basically taped with gaff tape so that there was no chance of any kind of issue. And, that the noose was kind of just for show, basically. And we tested it with Del Ponte. John Del Ponte's, a fairly stout individual. And Nick Principe, who... 6'6", 225, 230 all day. That's probably being generous. And these guys were both swinging from the thing. And I even have a photo somewhere. Because we're goofing. Because it's like, well, that's definitely going to hold. Right. These guys, they're both massive guys. I mean, they both could have been offensive linemen if they played, high school football. Big guys. They're hanging from the thing. It looks fine. In comes Tommy Dreamer, who's deceivingly fucking massive. Right?
Is he?
You don't realize... Yeah, like when you see Tommy Dreamer's photos and when you see him online, you see his wrestling matches, he doesn't look that big. He looks big, obviously, but he doesn't look huge. Here's what you gotta understand. In those wrestling matches, he's usually standing up next to a guy like fucking Brock Lesnar, who's 6'5", 265. He looks average size. He looks average size compared to fucking behemoths. So when you see him in like normal everyday life compared to your 5'10", 175-pound guys like myself, you see Tommy, he's a good 6'2", 6'1", 6'2", 275, 300 pounds. I mean, that's a big fucking individual. And with Tommy, he's not fat, that's
all muscle. A lot of
dense fucking muscle, So, he gets on the rig and he goes to do it. And he doesn't even he doesn't jump like he's gonna in the movie. He kind of just eases into it. It hangs for a second, and then poof! It just falls from the sky. The rig comes out of the roof, comes down, clocks him on the fucking head. Metal piece hitting him on the head. He gets up quickly because he's been hitting the head with steel chairs his entire adult life, and he's like, "That ain't gonna work." And we quickly adjusted, and we put him out in the backyard. We found a tree that we could hang him from, which, if you watch the movie, I think it's even more dramatic in the backyard. So sometimes in movies, we got to make adjustments, and it ends up becoming a happy accident. It ends up becoming something even better than you ever planned of happening. And that was the case with this. Visually, he just looked so much darker and more fucked up. He's hanging from a tree in his backyard. I mean, that's sick shit. And also, I've probably mentioned this every other episode, but I can't talk enough about why it's just great to work with pro wrestlers in your movies, because they roll with the punches. They're used to being on the fly. If a metal bolt falls from the sky and clocks them on the fucking head, they're going to go like, yeah, that ain't going to work, and, rub some dirt on it and move on to the next scene.
Right. Wrestlers are pretty tough guys.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not saying actors are frail, but there's a chance that if that happened to an actor, you could be looking at a fucking lawsuit for all we know. They might try and say, oh, you didn't harness that in, was this OSHA certified, whatever the fuck, you know what I mean? People get touchy sometimes.
Yes.
With safety. But we're always all about safety, so I don't want to make it look like we neglect that stuff either. All right, couple more. We're going to round it on down. This one's kind of a funny one. We were shooting a movie called The Opposite Sex, a.k.a. A Bet's a Bet. You can find it on Hulu right now. It's out there. You just punch in your Google machines. The Opposite Sex. The reason why it has two names, a lot of people ask me that, is because the phrase "a bet's a bet" didn't translate very well foreign. In other countries, in other languages, a bet's a bet didn't really, they were like, what? I guess that's not as colloquial of a phrase across the board, across the pond. Whereas the opposite sex, people got it. There wasn't much to question what it's about. And this is a known fact. The word sex draws a little more attention no matter what. People see the word sex and they say, what?
They're clicking it anyway, opening it, reading it.
They're going to say, what is this sex stuff? So the movie's called A Bet's a Bet, Opposite Sex. And we actually shot a portion of that movie, again, at my parents' house, which, at that time was kind of like this little movie studio. We were just doing whatever we could. And myself, Nick Principe, and John Del Ponte, the two culprits from the previous story, we were all living there. We shipped my parents out. They were staying somewhere else. And we were all kind of like, just camping out. And Nina Savari is in the movie, and, she's about to come in the morning and show up with, not like she had an entourage, but with her people. She's showing up with her costume person that's assigned to her, and her makeup person that's assigned to her, and the PA. And her little team comes in and finds myself, Nick Principe, and John Del Ponte basically passed out in varying degrees of, hungover, whateverness, just kind of laying all around the house. And I think Nick was eating, like, her cereal that had been, like, set aside for her.
Oh, damn.
Like, in the fridge. Like, she was using my fridge. Like, oh, that's my Kashi Goleen, whatever, or whatever it was. She had, like, a special cereal. And, of course, classic Nick, he was eating her cereal. So she walks in to find, like, these three guys, like, on what's considered a hot set. So, like, that's a production term. A hot set means... If you see a sign that says hot set, that means we're literally about to film here. Don't touch anything. If there's a pen that's been placed on the table like this, it's been placed like this for a reason. Don't fucking touch it. Don't touch anything. It's a hot set. It usually also means that we've already shot stuff here. So it's like especially important to not ruin the integrity of the fucking set. So long story short, there we were kind of passed out on a hot set, eating the star of the movie's cereal. We got a little reprimand for that, but at the same time, it was kind of like, what are you going to do? I mean, it was our house. We were kind of staying there. This was back in our young 20s. We used to get involved in a little additional extracurricular activities after rap, of course, responsibly. But those days are kind of behind us, but it's fun to think about the memories of us kind of passed out eating Nina Savari's cereal 5 minutes before we're supposed to be working. All right, and finally, this one's about kind of, talking too much when you shouldn't. This one goes way back. I've never told anyone this story. I'm not even friends, or not too many people. This goes back to when I was an intern, working with a filmmaker named Michael Carenti. And at the time, Michael was getting a movie off the ground called The Prince of Providence, which is a movie that was going to be based off of the Mike Stanton book, The Prince of Providence, about former mayor of Providence, Buddy Cianci. And the script was great. It really was. It was a terrific script, and this movie was going to be really cool. We were all so excited about this movie. And for me, a 22, 23-year-old intern, literally just out of school. This is my first job, quote, in the business. And I'm bright-eyed, and I'm bushy-tailed, and I'm all excited. And we were just about to cast a very big component to the movie. We were just about to bring in a very big name, and that was going to be shouted from the mountaintops. It was going to be in Providence Journal, and I knew about it, and I was right there, and I felt so privileged to be on the inside and knowing all this stuff, and I was so wide-eyed. And that name that we were talking about, that we were about to announce, was Robin Williams. At one time, Robin Williams was set to play not Buddy Cianci, but one of Buddy's kind of inner, associates, if you will. And I'm pretty sure we made an announcement in the Providence Journal that Robin Williams has agreed in conversation. It wasn't like he signed a deal yet, but he has, for all purposes, agreed to play this part in The Prince of Providence. Now, real quick, Robin Williams was probably in my list of top 5 favorite actors of all time. Very special to me. His films kind of live on forever. I probably watched Mrs. Doubtfire 500 times in my
Classic.
life. Yeah, I mean, I have a big love for Robin Williams. So to me, this was really a big fucking deal. And here I was, like I said, 22, 23. And in my mind, I'm like already picturing like showing up to set, and Robin's going to be there, and I'm going to get to work with him, and this is going to be so fucking crazy. And I remember even going to like the bar that night, almost to celebrate, like with a couple of my buddies, and I saw a couple of these kids that, I don't want to call them haters because that's probably being a little dramatic, but anytime you have a career in the movie business or in music or entertainment, or you want to be a pro athlete, or anytime you try to do something that's a little bit of a out of the box notion, people are going to kind of shit on it, or at least kind of give you a little side eye about it, or you'll hear stuff like, oh, how's that movie career going? As if
right.
People want to hear the failure. They want to hear you say, well, slow, not much. So people bust your balls like that. There were a couple kids that I knew, from the neighborhood that were kind of like that. And I knew that frenemies, I think we call them. I had a feeling that I was maybe going to bump into them, and I was excited because I was like, if these motherfuckers ask me how my movie career is going, well, I can't wait to say, read the paper tomorrow, and we'll see what's going on with my movie career. Right? Like that's how cocky I was feeling at the time. And it's one of these things where I did bump into these guys, and I was just like, going good. Making a movie with Robin Williams. In fact, if you read the paper tomorrow, I think you'll see all about it. Because I even knew that's how fucking inside I felt, right? I felt like this big fucking shot. I even know there's going to be an article about it tomorrow, kind of a deal. And sure enough, again, we got to check the archives. I think they did print an article that Robin Williams is going to be in The Prince of Providence, and everyone was all excited about it for like literally a week, a few days even. And then, like we all know can happen in the movie business and any other entertainment world, something changed, something happened, whatever. And, like I said, it was never official. There was never a signed document that he was going to do it. He backed out, parted ways, however you want to categorize it. Robin's not going to be in the movie. So then there I am thinking back, not only just for those couple of jokers that I was trying to impress at the bar with like, oh, I'm going to be working with Robin Williams, but just like I must have told everyone I know in my life. I must have told the fucking mailman. I probably chased him down and said, hey, by the way, I'm going to be in a Robin Williams movie. Like that, it meant so much to me. And I learned the valuable lesson that in this fucking unpredictable business, you never fucking squawk about something that's going to happen until you are goddamn 100% sure that it is happening. Like, I should have kept my mouth shut until I saw his feet hit the fucking ground here in Rhode Island and actually walk foot onto Rhode Island soil. Because you just never know. So that was the valuable lesson from this disaster. Just don't fucking shout it. Don't shout it from the mountaintops until you know for sure. Because you feel like a real fucking idiot. I mean, I felt like a big dumbass when, you know, that kind of just drifted away. I learned, you know, I was young at the time. I was more concerned with feeding my ego at the time than, you know, just calming down. And, you know, and again, it wasn't just to feed my ego. It was probably to nullify some of the work that I was putting in. You know, I was putting in 50-hour weeks working for free for an extended period of time. And in my way, that was kind of like, we're finally going to go to the pay window, you know, with the Robin Williams thing. And then it's like, oh, so, you know, I thought I was justifying all that hard work with like, yeah, it's finally hit. But you learn that sometimes, you know, if it's too good to be true, it just might be too good to be true.
Yeah, I don't know how it goes.
Something like that? Is that
something like that?
If it's too good to be true, it's too good to be true.
If it's too good to be true, it's probably not good. Something like that. I don't know.
Are we supposed to just repeat that?
I guess.
Well, Daryl, that's about all I have for major blunders. I mean, listen, there's a couple other ones that I probably can't say on air here, but for the most part, those were all the blunders that we can learn from, you know, that we can figure out, hey, you know what? We're always going to have to shift to the left or to the right. We're always going to have to adjust on the fly. I think the biggest lesson, the biggest take-home is always have a backup plan for just about everything that you're going to do, both creatively and in life.
Indeed.
Anything can fucking change, right?
Right.
And two, never be so fucking married to one concept creatively that if something goes wrong, you're shattered and you can't bounce back from that, you know. Like, always be ready to be like, hey man, we can't shoot that scene in the pizza place because we can't get a pizza place, but we do have a Chinese restaurant, you know. Okay, fine, we'll do it. Be flexible, you know. So that's my 2 cents for today on this rainy edition of The Porch remotely. It's been fun, man. We could do this again sometime for sure.
Yeah, for sure. It's always good to get in and learn the behind the scenes and the type of things that happen on movie sets. And we always appreciate you bringing that knowledge to the porch and to the masses. We're over 100 subscribers on the YouTube channel, by the way. So Thanks to everybody subscribed and logged in on the YouTube, checking out all the episodes of the Saturday Conversation and the Porch each and every week, or every other week, or whenever they're out there.
Yeah, and make sure you check us out on the socials too, on Twitter and Instagram. I am at Tom DeNucci. That's D-E-N as in Nancy. U as in Ulysses. What says Ulysses? You don't hear that name too much. But that's at Tom DeNucci on Instagram, on Twitter, and then on Facebook, Tom DeNucci, writer-director. Oh, yeah, we just talked about alarms going off. Now, imagine if that went off all night long. You'd go fucking insane.
Absolutely.
All right, well, hey, happy Sunday. We'll see you guys soon on the porch.
All right, guys, we'll check you out next time on the porch. Make sure you join us for all the episodes available on demand on all the social networking and podcasting type sites. And we'll check you all out next time on the porch.